In the vast expanse of the galaxy, where stars shimmered like diamonds scattered across an endless black canvas, there existed a small but powerful empire. It was ruled by Queen Illyra, a woman whose wisdom and strength commanded respect from every corner of her realm. Yet beneath her regal demeanor lay a loneliness that no crown could ever fill, a void left behind after the mysterious disappearance of her husband years ago. Illyra's daughter, Luma, was unlike any child in the galaxy. Born with shimmering silver skin and eyes that glowed faintly in the dark, she was half-human, an anomaly born out of love between two beings from different worlds. Her father had been human, a man who had once crossed galaxies to find adventure and instead found his heart captured by Illyra. But now, he was gone, leaving only memories for Luma to cling to. She often stared at the stars through the grand windows of their palace, wondering if one of those distant lights held some trace of him. The empire thrived under Illyra's leadership, yet whispers of unrest began to ripple through its borders. Without a king, many questioned whether the throne would remain stable when Luma eventually came of age. Nobles vied for power, each hoping to secure influence over the queen or position themselves as potential suitors. Illyra dismissed them all. None could compare to the man she had loved. None were fit to rule beside her. Luma, however, felt differently. At just 12 cycles old, the equivalent of Earth's years, she understood more than most gave her credit for. She saw how tired her mother looked late at night, poring over reports and signing decrees. She noticed the way Illyra's smile dimmed when ceremonial events required her to stand alone on the dais. And she knew deep down that something needed to change, not just for her mother, but for herself too. One evening, as they sat together in the royal gardens beneath the glow of twin moons, Luma finally spoke what had been weighing heavily on her mind. "Mother," she began hesitantly, fiddling with the hem of her dress, "do you think Father would want us to be unhappy?" Illyra paused, her fingers brushing against the petals of a luminescent flower nearby. For a moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the soft hum of nocturnal insects flitting about. Then she sighed, turning to face her daughter. "Your father wanted nothing more than our happiness, my dear. But life doesn't always give us what we wish for." "But maybe it can," Luma insisted, her voice gaining conviction despite her youth. "Maybe we can make things better. Maybe we need someone else." Illyra's brow furrowed slightly, though not in anger. "What do you mean, Luma?" "I mean," Luma hesitated again, unsure how to phrase such a bold idea. "I mean, maybe we should find someone new. Someone who can help you rule, and who can be a father to me." The words hung in the air like fragile glass, ready to shatter under even the slightest misstep. Illyra gazed at her daughter, seeing both the innocence of a child and the wisdom of someone far older than her years. "It's not so simple, my love," she said softly. "Finding someone worthy of this responsibility isn't easy. Your father wasn't just a king, he was extraordinary." "And so are we," Luma replied firmly, surprising even herself with her determination. "We deserve to have someone extraordinary again." Weeks passed, and Luma couldn't shake the thought from her mind. If finding someone worthy was truly the challenge, then why not look beyond their own world? After all, her father had come from another planet entirely. Perhaps there were others like him, humans, brave and kind, willing to cross the stars for a chance to belong. With her mother distracted by court affairs, Luma snuck into the archives, where ancient texts and star charts lined the walls. There, she discovered tales of humans, beings who dreamed bigger than their small blue planet might suggest. They were explorers, inventors, warriors, and poets. Some had even ventured into alien territories, forging alliances and friendships across species. One name stood out among the records: Captain Elias Drake, a human trader known for his daring exploits and unshakable sense of honor. Though Luma didn't fully understand the complexities of interstellar politics, she felt certain that Elias Drake was exactly the kind of person her family needed. With trembling hands, she jotted down coordinates linked to his last known location and resolved to act. That night, under the cover of darkness, Luma crept onto the Imperial docking bay. The sleek ships gleamed under artificial lights, their engines humming softly as if anticipating departure. She chose the smallest vessel, knowing it would draw less attention, and climbed aboard. Using skills she'd picked up from observing the pilots, she programmed the ship to follow the coordinates she'd written down earlier. As the engines roared to life and the craft lifted off, Luma felt a thrill of excitement mixed with fear. What if she failed? What if her plan backfired? Hours turned into days as the ship traversed the cosmos, guided by autopilot. Finally, it arrived at a bustling spaceport orbiting a gas giant. Ships of all shapes and sizes crowded the docks, their crews mingling in chaotic harmony. Luma stepped off the vessel, her glowing eyes wide with wonder and apprehension. This was her first time away from home, and everything felt overwhelming. She wandered through the port until she spotted a familiar face, or rather, a face matching the holographic image she'd seen in the archives. Captain Elias Drake stood near a cargo hold, supervising the loading of crates. He was tall, with broad shoulders and weathered features that hinted at years of hard travel. His hair was streaked with gray, but his piercing blue eyes radiated intelligence and compassion. Summoning every ounce of courage, Luma approached him. "Excuse me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. When he turned to look at her, she continued, "Are you Captain Elias Drake?" He blinked in surprise, clearly taken aback by the sight of a young alien girl addressing him. "Yes, I am," he replied cautiously. "And who might you be?" "My name is Luma," she said, lifting her chin despite her nervousness. "I've come a long way to find you." Elias crouched down to meet her eye level, his expression softening. "Well, Luma, that's quite a journey for someone so young. What brings you here?" Luma took a deep breath, preparing to deliver the speech she'd rehearsed countless times in her head. "My mother is Queen Elira of the Luminal Empire. She needs a husband, a good man to help her rule. I need a father. Someone strong and brave, like you." For a moment, Elias simply stared at her, processing her words. Then he chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Kid, you've got guts, I'll give you that. But you're asking me to leave my life behind and become royalty? That's not exactly an everyday request." "I know it sounds crazy," Luma admitted, her voice wavering slightly. "But please, hear me out. My mother is amazing, and our people need someone they can trust. Someone like you." Elias studied her intently, noting the sincerity in her glowing eyes. There was something about her, something pure and earnest, that made him hesitate. "Why me?" he asked finally. "Surely there are others more suited to this proposition." "No," Luma said firmly. "You're perfect. You're brave and smart and kind. Please, Captain Drake, come with me. See for yourself." Elias sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. "Look, kid, I appreciate the offer, really. But ruling an empire, being a king, that's not who I am." "But it could be," Luma pressed, refusing to back down. "You'd be helping us, helping me. Isn't that worth considering?" Her persistence intrigued him. Over the years, Elias had grown weary of aimless wandering, of living without purpose. Perhaps this was the universe nudging him toward something greater. Still, the decision wasn't one to make lightly. "All right," he said after a long pause. "I'll go with you. But let's get one thing straight. I'm not promising anything. If this turns out to be some elaborate prank or trap, I'm leaving." Relief flooded Luma's face, and she nodded eagerly. "Thank you, Captain Drake. You won't regret it." As they boarded her ship and set course for the Luminal Empire, Luma couldn't help but feel hopeful. She had done the impossible. She had convinced a stranger to take a leap of faith. Now, all that remained was to convince her mother. When the ship descended onto the landing pad outside the palace, Luma's heart raced with anticipation. Would her mother be angry? Proud? Disappointed? She didn't know, but she was determined to see this through. Elias followed her inside, his boots echoing against the marble floors as they made their way to the throne room. Guards eyed him warily, their weapons at the ready, but Luma waved them off. "It's okay," she assured them. "He's with me." The doors to the throne room opened, revealing Queen Elira seated upon her golden chair. Her expression shifted from curiosity to alarm as she spotted her daughter standing alongside a stranger. "Luma!" she exclaimed, rising to her feet. "Where have you been?" Do you have any idea how worried I've been?" "I'm sorry, Mother," Luma said quickly, stepping forward. "But I did something important. I brought someone who can help us." Elira's gaze shifted to Elias, her sharp eyes assessing him. "Who is this man, Luma?" "This is Captain Elias Drake," Luma explained, gesturing toward him. "He's human, like Father. And he's brave and strong and kind. I thought maybe he could be your husband. Our king." A heavy silence fell over the room as Elira processed her daughter's words. For a moment, Elias feared she might order the guards to throw him out, or worse. But then she surprised him by laughing softly, though there was no humor in it. "Luma, my dear, you cannot simply bring strangers home and expect them to step into roles meant for kings." "I know it sounds crazy," Luma pleaded, tears welling in her glowing eyes. "But please, Mother, just give him a chance. Talk to him. Get to know him. He's not like the others." Elira glanced at Elias again, noticing the way he stood tall despite the absurdity of the situation. There was honesty in his posture, a quiet dignity that reminded her of her late husband. Against her better judgment, she decided to indulge her daughter, for now. "Very well," she said, her tone measured. "Captain Drake, you may stay as our guest while we discuss this matter further. But understand this, I owe you no obligation, nor does my empire." "Of course, Your Majesty," Elias replied, bowing respectfully. "I wouldn't presume otherwise." Over the following days, Elias immersed himself in the workings of the Luminal Empire, learning about its customs, its people, and its challenges. He accompanied Elira during council meetings, offering insights that impressed even the most skeptical nobles. Slowly but surely, he began to earn their respect, and perhaps something more. Yet doubt lingered in the shadows. Could a human truly adapt to life as a king in an alien empire? Could he fill the void left by Luma's father? These questions weighed heavily on everyone involved, threatening to unravel the fragile hope they had built. As tensions simmered beneath the surface, unforeseen dangers loomed on the horizon. Political rivals within the empire saw Elias as a threat to their ambitions, while external forces grew bolder in testing the stability of Elira's reign. The stakes were higher than ever, and the choices they made next would shape not only their lives but the fate of the entire galaxy. Unbeknownst to anyone, a shadowy figure observed these developments from afar. Hidden among the stars, they plotted their move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The Luminal Empire stood at a crossroads, and the decisions of its rulers would determine whether it rose to new heights or crumbled into chaos. The days turned into weeks, and Elias found himself caught in a whirlwind of responsibilities he had never anticipated. Each morning, he attended briefings with Elira, poring over reports about trade routes, diplomatic negotiations, and the growing unrest along the empire's borders. He listened intently, asking questions that revealed both his intelligence and his outsider perspective, a fresh lens through which the council members began to view their challenges. Luma, meanwhile, took every opportunity to spend time with him. She followed him like a shadow, eager to learn everything she could about this man who might become her father. They explored the palace gardens together, where Elias told her stories of his adventures across the galaxy. He spoke of distant planets with skies painted in hues unimaginable to her, of cultures so different they seemed almost alien even to him, and of the friendships he'd forged along the way. Luma hung on his every word, her glowing eyes wide with wonder. But not everyone was pleased with Elias's presence. Among the nobles, whispers of discontent grew louder. Lord Valen, a cunning and ambitious advisor, led the opposition. "He is but a human," Valen argued during one heated council session. "What does he know of our ways? How can we trust him to rule when he doesn't even share our blood?" Elira silenced him with a steely glare. "Captain Drake has proven himself capable thus far. His insights have already strengthened our defenses against border skirmishes. If you wish to challenge his worthiness, do so with facts, not baseless prejudice." Elias appreciated her defense, though it only fueled the fire of resentment among certain factions. He knew he walked a precarious line. One misstep could undo all the progress he'd made. Still, he pressed on, determined to prove himself, not just for Luma and Elira, but for the sake of the empire itself. One evening, As the twin moons bathed the palace in silvery light, Elias found himself alone with Alira in the royal observatory. The dome-shaped room offered a breathtaking view of the stars, each pinprick of light representing a world beyond their own. For a moment, neither spoke, content to simply gaze upward. "You miss it, don't you?" Alira asked finally, breaking the silence. "Miss what?" Elias replied, turning to look at her. "The freedom of the stars. The life you left behind." He hesitated, considering her question. "In some ways, yes. But I've also seen enough of the galaxy to know that freedom isn't always what it seems. Sometimes, it's just another kind of loneliness." Alira nodded thoughtfully, her expression softening. "You remind me of him, of my husband. Not in appearance, but in spirit. He too sought adventure, yet he chose to stay because he believed in something greater than himself." "And what about you?" Elias asked gently. "Do you believe in something greater now?" Her answer came slowly, weighed down by years of loss and responsibility. "I want to. For Luma's sake, I must. But trusting again, letting someone else carry this burden, it's not easy." "I understand," Elias said quietly. "And I won't pretend I'm here without my own doubts. But if there's one thing I've learned from traveling the stars, it's that sometimes the greatest journeys are the ones we never planned." Their conversation lingered between them, unspoken promises hanging in the air. Yet before either could say more, the doors burst open, and a guard rushed in, panic etched across his face. "Your Majesty, there's been an attack on the southern quadrant." Alira sprang to action, her regal composure transforming into commanding authority. "Details," she demanded. "A rebel faction has seized control of several outposts. They're calling for your abdication, claiming the throne is weakened without a king." Elias clenched his fists, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. This isn't coincidence. Someone inside the Empire is feeding them information. Alira's jaw tightened. "Lord Valen." Without hesitation, she ordered reinforcements to be sent to the affected regions while dispatching spies to uncover the truth behind the rebellion. As the council scrambled to respond, Elias volunteered to lead a diplomatic mission to negotiate peace. It was a risky move, but he knew it might be the only way to prevent further bloodshed. The journey to the rebel stronghold was fraught with danger. Accompanied by a small contingent of loyal soldiers, Elias navigated treacherous terrain and hostile patrols. When they finally reached the encampment, he stepped forward alone, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. The rebels eyed him warily, their weapons trained on him. "I'm here to speak with your leader," Elias called out. "There's no need for more violence." After tense moments of deliberation, he was brought before Commander Scylla, a fierce warrior with scars etched into her skin and fire in her eyes. "Why should I listen to you, human?" she spat. "You're nothing but an outsider meddling in affairs that don't concern you." "Because I care about this empire," Elias replied steadily. "Not for power or glory, but for its people, including those who feel abandoned by their rulers." His words struck a chord with Scylla, whose own family had suffered under neglectful governance. Slowly, she lowered her weapon. "Speak your terms." Back at the palace, news of Elias's success spread quickly. The rebels agreed to stand down in exchange for reforms addressing their grievances. Cheers erupted throughout the empire, and for the first time in years, hope began to bloom. Yet amidst the celebrations, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that something darker still loomed. The shadowy figure watching from afar had grown bolder, manipulating events from the sidelines. And as Elias prepared to return to the capital, he received a chilling message: the throne will fall, and no human will save it. Unsure of whom to trust, Elias confided in Luma. Together, they devised a plan to uncover the identity of the mastermind behind the chaos. Armed with determination and courage, they set out on a secret mission, one that would take them deeper into the heart of the empire than ever before. As they ventured into unknown territory, Elias realized that his role in the story was far from over. Whether he succeeded or failed, one thing was certain: the fate of the Luminal Empire, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested in his hands. Elias and Luma moved like shadows through the labyrinthine corridors of the palace, their footsteps muffled by thick carpets woven with threads that shimmered faintly under the dim light. The grand halls, usually bustling with courtiers and servants, were eerily quiet at this hour. Everyone had either retired for the night or been distracted by the celebrations following the resolution of the rebellion. But Elias knew better than to let his guard down, not when an unseen enemy lurked in the wings. "Are you sure about this?" Elias whispered, glancing down at Luma. Her silver skin seemed to glow softly in the darkness, making her look almost ethereal. Despite her young age, there was a maturity in her eyes that reminded him of her mother, a steely resolve that refused to back down from danger. "I have to be," Luma replied, clutching a small data crystal tightly in her hand. It contained fragments of encrypted messages they had intercepted earlier, cryptic warnings sent from unknown sources within the Empire. "If we don't find out who's behind all this, everything we've worked for could fall apart." Elias nodded grimly. He didn't need convincing. He felt it too, the weight of impending doom pressing against his chest. This wasn't just about protecting Alira's reign anymore. It was about ensuring Luma's future, safeguarding the fragile peace they'd fought so hard to achieve. Their destination was the Imperial Archives, a vast repository buried deep beneath the palace. Few ventured into its depths unless summoned by royal decree, as its contents held secrets spanning centuries, some too dangerous to ever see the light of day. If anyone had information on the mysterious figure orchestrating chaos, it would be hidden here. The entrance was guarded, but Elias had anticipated this. Using forged credentials crafted hastily by a sympathetic technician, they slipped past the sentries without incident. Once inside, the air grew colder, tinged with the faint scent of old parchment and ionized dust. Rows upon rows of holographic consoles stretched endlessly, each one humming softly as if alive. Luma led the way, navigating the maze-like structure with surprising ease. She had spent countless hours exploring these archives during her childhood, seeking solace among the ancient texts while her mother attended to matters of state. Now, those same memories guided her toward what she hoped would be answers. They stopped at a console marked with symbols Elias couldn't decipher. Luma inserted the data crystal, her fingers flying over the interface as lines of code scrolled across the screen. Moments later, a hologram flickered to life, a map of the Empire overlaid with glowing red dots indicating recent disturbances. "There," Luma said, pointing to a cluster of dots near the edge of Imperial space. "That's where most of the attacks originated. Whoever's doing this is using remote outposts to coordinate their movements." Elias frowned, leaning closer to examine the map. "But why target those areas specifically? They're barely populated compared to the core worlds." "Because they're testing us," Luma murmured, her voice barely audible. "Testing how far they can push before we break." Her words sent a chill down Elias's spine. What kind of adversary would go to such lengths? Someone patient, calculating, and utterly ruthless. Before they could delve deeper, a sudden alarm blared through the chamber, startling them both. Red lights flashed overhead, casting eerie shadows across the floor. "Intruder alert," a mechanical voice announced. "Security teams dispatched." Elias cursed under his breath. "We've been made." Grabbing Luma's hand, he pulled her toward the nearest exit. Behind them, heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors as security drones converged on their location. They darted through narrow passages, dodging blasts of energy fire that sizzled past their heads. Every turn seemed to lead to another dead end, forcing them to double back and rethink their route. Just when it felt like escape was impossible, Luma spotted a maintenance hatch tucked away in a corner. Without hesitation, she yanked it open, revealing a vertical shaft leading downward. "This way!" she shouted, slipping inside. Elias hesitated only briefly before following. The descent was dizzying, metal rungs slick with condensation under his palms. Below them, the sound of rushing water grew louder until they emerged into a subterranean tunnel flooded with ankle-deep liquid. The cold shock of it jolted Elias awake, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "We need to keep moving," Luma urged, splashing ahead. "There's an access point not far from here that leads outside." As they trudged through the murky water, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they were being herded, driven toward some predetermined trap. Yet backing down wasn't an option, not now. Not when they were so close to unraveling the truth. Finally, they reached the surface, emerging onto a deserted landing platform overlooking the city. Dawn was breaking, painting the horizon in hues of orange and pink. For a moment, they stood there catching their breath, relief washing over them despite the circumstances. But their respite was short-lived. A sleek black ship descended silently from above, its engines emitting a low hum that vibrated through the ground beneath their feet. Its door slid open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow. "Well done," a voice echoed, smooth and chillingly familiar. "I must admit, I underestimated you." Elias stepped protectively in front of Luma, his heart pounding. "Who are you?" he demanded. The figure stepped forward, lowering their hood to reveal a face that struck terror into Elias's soul. It was someone he recognized, someone he never expected to see again. "You," Elias breathed, disbelief warring with fury. "You betrayed us." A slow smile spread across the traitor's lips. "Betrayal implies loyalty, Captain Drake. And loyalty has always been a luxury I cannot afford." Behind them, more ships appeared on the horizon, their silhouettes ominous against the rising sun. Whatever game this person was playing, it was far from over. As Elias tightened his grip on Luma's shoulder, he realized the battle for the Luminal Empire was only beginning, and the stakes were higher than anyone could have imagined. Above them, the stars burned brightly, indifferent witnesses to the drama unfolding below. Somewhere among those distant lights lay the answers Elias sought, the key to saving the empire he had come to care for. But finding them would require sacrifices he wasn't sure he was ready to make. The revelation of the traitor struck like a thunderclap, shattering the fragile calm Elias and Luma had fought so hard to preserve. It was Lord Valen. His face twisted into a smug grin as he revealed himself to be the mastermind behind the rebellion and the shadowy figure pulling strings from the sidelines. His betrayal cut deep, not just because of his position within the Empire, but because of the trust Alira had placed in him. "You," Elias growled, his voice trembling with rage. "All this time, it was you orchestrating the chaos?" Valen chuckled darkly, stepping closer. "Of course. Did you truly think I would allow an outsider, a mere human, to seize power in my empire? This throne belongs to those who understand its weight, not interlopers seeking glory." Luma clutched Elias's arm, her glowing eyes wide with fear but also determination. "We won't let you destroy everything Mother has built," she said firmly, her small voice carrying surprising strength. Valen sneered at her. "Child, you know nothing of rulership. Your mother's reign is weak, propped up by sentimentality and misplaced hope. With me at the helm, the Luminal Empire will become unstoppable." Before Elias could respond, reinforcements arrived, Alira herself leading a contingent of elite guards. She had been alerted to the intruder alert and raced to find them, her heart pounding with dread. When she saw Valen standing there, the pieces fell into place, and her expression hardened like steel. "Valen," she said coldly, drawing herself up to her full height. "You dare betray your queen?" He turned to her, unrepentant. "Betrayal? No, my dear Alira. This is restoration. The Empire deserves a ruler worthy of its greatness, not some sentimental fool clinging to the memory of a dead husband or entrusting its future to a foreigner." Alira's gaze flickered to Elias, softening for just a moment before returning to Valen. "Then prove yourself, coward. Face justice for your crimes." With that, the stage was set for a final confrontation. The air crackled with tension as Valen's forces clashed with Alira's loyalists. Blasts of energy lit up the sky, echoing across the city as the battle raged on. Elias shielded Luma from harm, ensuring she stayed out of the line of fire while keeping one eye on the unfolding chaos. But even amidst the fighting, hope began to shine through. The people of the Empire, inspired by Alira's courage and Elias's unwavering dedication, rallied to their side. Citizens poured into the streets, armed with whatever tools they could find, determined to defend their home against Valen's tyranny. Together, they pushed back his forces, driving them toward retreat. In the midst of the fray, Elias confronted Valen directly. The two men circled each other, weapons drawn, their breaths heavy with exertion. "This ends now," Elias declared, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Valen sneered, lunging forward with surprising speed. Their blades clashed, sparks flying as they exchanged blows. Though Valen was skilled, Elias's resolve gave him an edge. Each strike carried the weight of his promise to protect Luma, Elira, and the empire they loved. Finally, with a decisive move, Elias disarmed Valen, pinning him to the ground. "It's over," Elias said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Defeated, Valen glared up at him but offered no resistance as the guards took him away. As the dust settled, the people cheered, their voices rising in unity. Elira stood atop the palace steps, addressing the crowd alongside Elias and Luma. Her words were simple yet powerful. "Today, we have shown that no force can divide us when we stand together. Our strength lies not in conquest, but in compassion, for our people, for our allies, and for the future we build together." The cheers grew louder, and Elias felt a swell of pride. He glanced down at Luma, who beamed up at him, her glowing eyes filled with joy. "Does this mean you'll stay?" she asked softly. Elias smiled, kneeling to meet her gaze. "Yes, Luma. I'm here to stay, for you, for your mother, and for this incredible empire." Tears welled in Elira's eyes as she watched the scene unfold. She approached Elias, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in us when others doubted, for fighting for what matters most." Elias took her hand in his, returning her smile. "I didn't do it alone. We did it together." In the weeks that followed, peace returned to the Luminal Empire. Valen's treachery served as a reminder of the importance of trust and transparency, prompting reforms that strengthened the bond between rulers and citizens. Elias officially joined the royal family, not just as a king but as a father to Luma and a partner to Elira. His presence brought new perspectives and ideas, enriching the empire's culture and governance. Luma thrived under his guidance, her curiosity blossoming into wisdom beyond her years. She often accompanied Elias on diplomatic missions, learning the intricacies of leadership while forging connections with neighboring worlds. Her unique heritage became a symbol of unity, bridging gaps between species and fostering alliances that ensured the empire's prosperity. As for Elias, he found something he hadn't realized he'd been searching for all along, a true home. The stars still called to him, but now they were a backdrop to a life filled with love, purpose, and belonging. And every night, as he gazed at the twin moons with Elira and Luma by his side, he knew he had made the right choice. The Luminal Empire entered a new golden age, guided by leaders who embodied courage, compassion, and resilience. Under their rule, the galaxy itself seemed to shine brighter, a testament to the power of unity and the enduring light of hope. And though challenges lay ahead, they faced them together, as a family, as a people, and as guardians of a legacy worth preserving.